I'm Karen, and this is my true story. My daughter Dawn lives in England with her husband and 2 kids. For her birthday, her husband gave her a gift certificate to the wind tunnel. And she got a couple friends together. They just loved it. But Dawn, make a long story short, became obsessed with it. And she took up skydiving. And there got to be a little group of 4 or 5 skydivers. They made their own team. They were a beginning team, and they all loved it. October 3rd, I got home from work, and I got a phone call, and it was Sean's mother. And she says, Karen, I have some bad news for you. And Dawn had a fall. She was in Portugal, and they were practicing, and something bad happened, and Dawn smashed into the rocks. Her face, her bones in her face, several broken bones in her face. Her nose was smashed inside her head. Severe swelling in her brain. Her pelvic bones were shattered. Her knee, and the doctors said that they didn't know from day to day if she was going to be breathing the next day, but she was on ventilators, and then they kept her in an induced coma just in case. But when that was a Thursday night when I got the message, and on Sunday after church, after the service, can always go down and ask for prayers. And so we prayed, but I asked him to please just pray for God's will to be done. Your will be done. Your will be done. Because I didn't want her to be a vegetable, because they said the brain damage was so severe they didn't know what was going to happen. And please, God, don't make my daughter a vegetable. Just take her home with you now if you need to, if you really need her. But her family, her kids, and her husband really need her too. And the prayers went worldwide, because I called my mom after we got the first message, and she immediately called her prayer chains all over Phoenix. They were going crazy, and those people told their families, and their families told their friends, and even Jerry at his work, a lady overheard him talking to one of his friends what is happening with Dawn, and she interrupted, and she said, "May I please, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but if you will give me her name, I'll get our prayer chain going. This was happening around the world. And then we get to October 17th, and Sean sent this email. He couldn't even hardly type things out, but the doctors took him in a room and they said, "We think we have given you the wrong impression. Your wife is not getting better. Your wife is," they showed him the CT, the CAT scans, and there was nothing working in her brain. Her brain was full of blood, and they could not clinically call her brain dead, only by a tiny fraction. But there were bone fragments in her brain. It was full of blood, and the doctor's prognosis was Dawn will not survive. And they said, "Sean, your wife is not here. It's just her body. You need to go home to your kids. It could be a long time, or it could be tomorrow." They had no idea how long it would be. And if she did come out of this, for some reason she survived this, she would probably permanently be brain damaged and be in an institution the rest of her life. And I told Jerry, I said, "Okay, now I have to go say goodbye." And so I got on the plane and I went to Faro, and Sean had arranged for one of her skydiving friends that lived there to pick me up because he had already gone home. And so she checked me in to the hospital, and she says, "Karen, they need us to sit down. The doctors need to talk to you first." And the only thing I could think of was that she had already gone, but at least I could still give her a hug and kiss. And so they took us in this little room, and the doctor sat down and he says, "I don't know where to begin." And Linda was kind of translating for when I couldn't understand. He said, "The swelling has almost gone from her brain. There is no blood left in her brain. The pressure was gone. She was positive she could breathe on her own, but they had to leave the ventilator in because she still had a little pneumonia, but the pneumonia was almost gone. She had no fever. There were movements behind her eyes. And they had reduced the coma medicine to a low dosage." And I sat there and said, "What? So what did you say?" And Linda looked at me and she said, "What is he saying, Karen? What? Are you sure?" And he says, "I'm gonna let you see your daughter now." And so I went in, and I probably would not have recognized her if it wouldn't have been for her blonde hair, because she had tubes and wires going in and out with all monitors all around the bed. And it took me a minute to catch my breath, but I held her, just took a hold of her fingers, and I rubbed her forehead, and I kissed her cheek, and I said, "Hi, honey, Mommy's here." And she opened her eyes. And Dawn, can you see me? Dawn, Mommy's here. And the two nurses came over. Well, she opened her eyes for her mom. And then I was kind of pushed aside because they were checking all the monitors. But I got out of there, and Linda was waiting. And I said, "Linda, she opened her eyes." She said, "What?" I said, "She opened her eyes when I said, 'Hi, honey, Mommy's here.'" And we were just jumping up and down and thank you, God, thank you, God. And right away I said, "I have to call Sean. I have to call Sean." I said, "I don't care what it's gonna cost. I have to let him know." And so I told him all this, and he just kept saying, "What? What are you saying, Mom?" I said, "Sean, God has answered our prayers." Her eyes opened, and she did several times when I was in there. And she's, what are you saying?" I said, "Sean, listen to me, I'm laughing. She is going to be okay." The doctors can give no explanation of this recovery because all of their tests and everything that they had done, she was clinically brain dead by just a tiny fraction. And it's just been better and better and better every day. And in January, she was then transferred. Her bones had pretty much healed. And then she was transferred to the rehabilitation center. And there, they taught her, she has learned how to walk again. She can carry on and now, let's just skip all the way to now. She carries on a conversation like it was a year ago. So she will be pretty much back to normal. She'll never be the normal Dawn, but she will be home, be able to go to take care of her kids. She'll cook dinner without burning the house down, and she'll be with her friends. And there's just nothing but a miracle.